Greetings and salutations on this lovely Sunday morning. I'm looking out at a sky that is bright blue, relentless sunshine. I'm getting ready to go out and take a part in that as well. And just the beauty that is Costa Rica on a Sunday morning when all the ticos are sleeping over yet, mostly, except for the church ones. My husband being one of those church ones. He's at church right now. Hey, Bliss, good morning. And what a morning it has already been. I hate to say it. And that's why I'm here complaining. Okay, or introduce who I am for those that are not familiar at all. I'm Suzanne Tacomar. I used to write for a place called Pathos. I used to write a column called No Longer Quivering about the quiverful evangelical movement, about non denominational, high demand religious organizations. And did that for over 10 years. So I'm working on a book called With Strange Fire. I'm working hard on my book now. I'm having to rewrite sections of it because I realized I misremembered a few things, and I remembered some things that aren't in there. And my husband, who is editing it right now, and somebody else is editing it, are telling me you got to do this, you got to do that. Hey, Sarah. So got all that going on right now, all at the same time. And I'm going to say, don't bully anybody I talk about. Don't harass them. Some people I'm not going to talk about, because to talk about them, even though it's perfectly legal to say that person from such and such is a pain in my rumpus, I don't want that attention. That's just too much. Okay. So, without further ado, hey, Nitwit, I am getting ready to go outside and soak up some sun, and then I'm going to work on making some clay beads. I just need some art right now. I got up this morning and discovered that Renelle Smith had done a video. Now, I love Renelle. Renelle's a nice person. Renelle is somebody that I never have a problem talking to. Renelle has my phone number, and nobody else does on this platform. So I like Renelle. She goes after without a box of Kleenex many times. And I'm kind of done with that because I don't have anything else I could possibly say or add to that thing. So I stay out of it now. You like Renelle too? Doesn't mean I always agree with her, and that's okay. Bliss, that's the point I wanted to make. So Renelle was upset this morning because of Cheshire and Mania. Is that how you pronounce her name? Doing some streams about her and about me and about various other people. And here's the thing, I do not care. Manya, Cheshire, you do whatever you want. I don't care. I do have a couple of things to say about this whole confloption. It is a confloption. It's a big, stupid mess. And doesn't have to be. Here's the thing about that I come to the conclusion I came to about the anti-Katie Joy community. Not all of it, but some of it. And why I went ham and told people off last week, or was it earlier this week? I don't know. Days get confused. It is too much. For those of us having real life, this is just way too much. It's too much. For those of us having real life, this is just way too much. It's too much the way people go after her for every little thing. And I understand why they're doing that, that's their thing. But the ones that have tried to drag me back into it, I'm just going to go, oh, heck no, and block them, which is what I've been doing. But here's where Manya and Cheshire. They hate Steve. They hate Steve with an unreasonable hatred. Now, yeah, I understand that Cheshire and Steve had some kind of falling out over money when she was live streaming with him. I think perhaps that she had expectations that were not even close to reality. And I don't know what happened between Steve and Chesh, but at the time I said, then that's fine. Both of you are my friends. I'm going to just not get in the middle of this. And then Chesh blocked me. This kind of reminds me of the tax and being drug in. It reminds me horribly of what I went through last year with in real life. Okay. And I want to talk about that too, because what they're doing has had some real life consequences. I have had family members who have been contacted who have nothing to do with my YouTube channel or anything that sometimes watch my YouTube channel, but they're not involved in this at all. They've been contacted, which is never right. It's never right to go real life. I say that all the time here. And there's just a bunch of things that have gone down that are silly and ridiculous. It reminds me of last winter, not this past December, but December, I guess it would have been 2022. My husband started having all kinds of belly pain. He started moaning and groaning. Oh, I can't eat peanut butter and drink orange juice together. It gives me belly pain. I'm like, you shouldn't be drinking that stuff anyway. It's full of sugar or eating that stuff. And he finally went to the doctor, and it turned out they said, it's your gallbladder. It needs to come out. We went round and round with this less than wonderful endocrinologist surgeon who said, well, I'm going on vacation. We'll do this in the first of the year when I'm back. And my husband was in some pretty bad pain at the time. And I said, what? So we ended up getting a better surgeon, a better hospital in San Jose and scheduling this thing. And he went and have it done. Now, what happened when he had it done was pretty awful. The first night we were there when they were doing pre-op, we had people ringing his phone left and right from his church. Okay. He goes to church here. I don't. I think those people are all ridiculous. They don't know who Jesus is. They wouldn't know who Jesus was if he beat them on the rear end. Let's just put it that way. They kept calling my husband and they kept stressing him out tremendously when he was getting ready to have surgery. Okay. The next day, he had what was supposed to be a 45-minute surgery, laparoscopically, where they make a couple little incisions. They stick all the instruments in there. They cut out, they pull it out. It did not go that way. It took 3 hours. And when the surgeon came to talk to me, he said, well, your husband's gallbladder was starting to rupture, and there was all kinds of infections in here. So they had to clean all of that out. It wasn't just a matter of taking the gallbladder. They had to do a pretty invasive thing, and he was in pretty horrible pain for days afterwards. He took pain pills, which he does not do. He does take pain pills for things that I would definitely take pain pills for. He just won't do it. So he was taking pain pills, so I knew his pain level was pretty horrible with this whole thing. So the night before, I took his phone away from him. I said, give me your phone now. Because these people were stressing him out tremendously. The next day, I had it on for a little while, and then they started stressing me out by calling all the time and, "Is he out of surgery? What's the deal? What's the deal?" I was like, "Hey, are you his mama or his brother?" "Oh, no, that's so dangerous after something like ruptures. That vacation doc should be charged with negligence. That's up." Yeah, that's true, Bliss, but here it's almost impossible to do that. That's the negative of Costa Rica is it's really hard to file a medical negligence anything here. And I know because I tried after my last stroke because the doctor straight up lied to me and made me a whole lot worse because he did not send me off to get treatment when I should have. If I'd have been treated early on, I would have probably regained more function and had less pain than I have now. And that is the big thing of my life. He really failed me. Fortunately, he was fired from the clinic eventually. He did it unto enough people where they let go of him. So after I started getting the crazy phone calls on his phone, he shut the phone off. I just powered it off, powered it completely off until we got back here. And my husband said, well, yeah, I'm feeling better. Let me return some calls. So that was the point. I handed over his phone. He charged it and started making phone calls. I am reminded Ian Hupkern talks about going to Costa Rica. That plane ride is daunting to me, though. After 3 hours on a plane, I'm done, and it's like a 5 or 6 hour flight. Bliss, watch this guy on YouTube called, 7-4 Crew, Kelsey. He does pilot videos all the time, and he turned me from the world's most nervous flyer to the world's like, "Yeah, I'm riding on the tin bus in the sky, a big deal." And it's funny now because I watch so many of his videos, and if the plane is coming down, so I'm like, "Oh, we're crabbing," or, "It's gonna be a stiff landing, look at the windsock." Things like that. I've learned what all the weird noises the plane makes. It makes flying so much easier. Now for your health, it's a whole different, "Oh, you're anxious and comfortable, like, I need to get a" watch Kelsey, it'll help. It will at least demystify it, so you won't be quite as helpless feeling. The plug coming out of the Boeing plane the other day was not a vote of confidence, and this is why when I'm on the plane, I keep the belt on as long as I'm sitting down. They tell you to do that because of turbulence and various things, and they're absolutely right. They're absolutely right. You should. If you're sitting in the plane, you're sitting. You should have that thing on all the time because if you don't, you're reading your magazine, the next thing you know, you might have a concussion because they hit a patch of like they call it what do they call it now? Rough air. They don't say turbulence any longer, which is really stupid because it is turbulent air. I almost passed out coming home from Cancun. My sugar dropped though. They gave me a Coke and I felt so much better. Gotta remember to keep glucose tablets on hand for plane rides. Bless I had to do the glucose tablet things when my husband was in the hospital this last time in the States because we waited so long and I started getting the feelings that my glucose had dropped and I had to do the whole glucose tablets thing. It's a good idea to keep them. I make sure I do now. So here we are now, and we have all these people making these allegations and saying all this stupid stuff and trying to drag everybody into it. Steve and I are friendly with each other. We don't agree on everything. I laughingly call Steve Lobster Hole now because there's a restaurant here by that name. And Unirock started calling him Lobster, and after Davey first called him Lobster, and it all just kind of it's just too funny. But I like funny nicknames for people, so I've been calling Steve Lobster Hole for like forever now in my mind. So Manya and Chesh are involved with some kind of shady people. They're trying to stir up trouble. They're trying to get us to fight with them. The other day when I went off on everybody at Twitter and I closed my Twitter account, at least temporarily, it was because of those 2. It was because of some of the harassment some of my family members were getting. It was so many things that were going on at the same time. We're still dealing with my husband's cancer thing. Steve really grew on me. I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're friendly. I think we may have grown on each other. Bliss, that's what's happened with me and Steve. And kinda like him, kinda like the guy, but at the same time, he and I don't think the same at all. Last week when I was going off on everybody, I was upset because I believe that Veda, Jade, and Wolf doxed Rev Ruin. They say they didn't, and they should be just left there. Steve says they didn't. I think they did, and that's okay. With friends, you're not gonna ever see everything 100% the same. That was one of the things that I took away from Fundy Town really hard when I left my church. It's okay to have different opinions on everything than your friends. Friendships where you're 100% like this all of the time are not real friendships. They're lockstep conformity. They border on the CULT. I do too. And him and I kind of do think the same on a lot of things. Okay. Yeah, I don't think the same way as him on a lot of things. I was in a plane accident across the Atlantic, and it was maybe a year after 9/11 at that. I don't know how, but a sense of calm and understanding, I have no control, came over me. Wild. Dash, that is wild. I have only had one real well, in the years as old as I am, as many years I've been flying, I've only had 2 incidents that were concerning. One, I was flying out on Easter, and talk about a dead company, to go back home to Louisiana after a couple of weeks in NYC with my then fiancé, and everyone canceled their flights except Eastern. So I was rebooked on Eastern. I had to go back to my job the very next day, so I didn't have a choice. And um, hanging on hard because there was a lot of turbulence. I don't know. You shouldn't have your name as your Twitter handle, and then someone calls you by that name in a tweet. You change your handle and say they doxed you. Well, Bliss, there's some stuff that's going on with Rev Ruin that I can't really talk about. It's not my story. That involves people taking that and going real life. There's some things that happen. I mean, bad things. And he lost his entire way he had of getting commissions. And that's the harm of what was said and how it spiraled, because what was said spiraled other people to take other actions, and it was just not a good thing. That's why I'm not happy when people go real life, even if they use somebody's name that they previously had on their Twitter handle. If you have those kind of issues where you think you might be ever doxxed, you think you might be exposed and someone goes real life, then just change your handle. But don't change your handle and say they doxed you when they used the name from your old handle. That part I will agree with, but where it went from there is just crazy. So the other flight I had was on one of those little tree topper, little tiny planes flying into Baton Rouge, Louisiana after Katrina. And um, the Baton Rouge airport is right on the river. And they were having high winds that day where our flight was delayed again and again and again. And we came in doing this number, rocking side to side, and I thought I was going to die. My poor dad is on the West Coast. I had to try to get a hold of our family in the UK. They're picking us up. It was bonkers. I'm an anxious person, but that never bothered me. The small planes, they do and they don't scare me. I used to have friends, and my father had friends that had small planes and used to fly small planes quite a bit. Heck, I have been up in the small planes with somebody who said, Suzanne, you want to fly the plane? I was like, yeah, grab the yoke. So I'm less nervous about the small planes. And at that time, I was still doing the non-denominational high demand religious organization thing. So while people were screaming on that flight, that's how bad the rocking was. Like, oh, it's the ground. Oh, oh, it's the ground. Oh, it's the sky. Oh, it's the ground. I just started praying, and everybody was screaming, and I was going, Jesus, I'm coming up. Hell no, I cannot do a small plane. Heavily medicated. Yeah, I do small planes here. I do small planes, say I decide to go to San Jose for the day for a doctor's appointment or shopping or whatever. Small plane. The runway is very near the edge of my property. I'm very near the airport, so it's actually like taking a weird little taxi. The plane was spitting flames, and when the captain says he's going to try to make it back, ours was deadly silent. We landed in brush back in the East Coast. Oh, dash! I can't imagine that. That sounds pretty terrible. I've never had that situation. I have had the situation where I was riding on a plane coming here, and one of the engines started smoking heavily. It was on fire, but it was a plane with 4 engines, and one of them malfunctioned. You just really need one engine to get back anyway. Yeah, I would have been stressing out over that one too. Gotta head into work. Catch the rest on replay. Have a good day. You too, Bliss. You have a great day. Have a great Sunday. It's a good Sunday. So I got sidetracked on planes. Well, if you live here, the planes are a reality unless you come on a cruise ship, because the cruise ships do come here. And there's a port at Punta Arenas that's a deep water port that they can dock at. We go down there every now and then. We have friends that show up on the cruise ships. Just take them around and do different things. I was an obnoxious teen and I was looking out the window asking Ma what that was. It was flames. She slammed the window closed. Oh my goodness, I can't imagine what that was like. I can imagine. I was already freaking out over the smoke that time and the fact that we had already done 3 go arounds. A go around is when you go to land at the airport, and for some reason, the landing gets scrubbed and you go right back up and you go back in the holding pattern, start circling, and then you try it again. It's a little frightening, but um, it's not too bad. Now, I've never been on a cruise dash, but I get horribly sick on a boat. Plus, it's a sailboat, believe it or not. I am less bothered by the wind pushing us along the waves than I am by any engine. There have been a couple of times I've been horribly sick on boats. One of them was the Maid of the Mist at Niagara Falls. Another one was when we took one of the booze cruises out to international waters from Florida one time. Ugh. You're hanging onto the rail looking over going, I may be losing my lunch. It's bad. Um, so I've never taken a cruise. My in-laws love them and would go all the time. And they did a lot of ballroom dancing. They had a bunch of trophies for that. So cruises were their big thing. They would always be asked to put on ballroom dancing showcases while they were on the cruise, rather than whatever it is they do that. That was their thing. And that my mother-in-law did that when she went into the nursing home finally. She would do ballroom dancing. Last I received another email threatening me with a TRO. Several other and I received a couple of those myself down the rabbit hole. And I'm just not gonna respond. First of all, they don't fly here in Costa Rica. She would have to hire a Costa Rican attorney and pay that Costa Rican attorney who would have to turn around and petition the Costa Rican court to take out the TRO against me. She would have to have pretty compelling evidence. Now, if she lived here, it would simply be a matter of going to the police station and saying, "Hey, this person is harassing me. Here's my evidence." And the police would issue that TRO just like that, except it wouldn't be a TRO, it'd be an RO. And so there. Interesting. I felt a little off that first night, but I think it was more a medication thing. Husband loves it. Reminds him he would sleep underway, though he prefers a leisure cruise. We had the blue and gold cruises in San Francisco that were fun. I bet they were. It's something I probably will do at some time, but I'm gonna have to have a pile of Zofran or something to keep my stomach, because I don't think it would be real good. So why did I throw out this tale about my husband and everybody stressing him out? Because they're starting to do that again, and I'm getting ready to have to snatch his phone. People are trying to stress me out, and they are to a certain extent with the constant trying to drag me in, trying to send out TROs, all of that. And I'm just not going to respond to any of that anymore. Here's what I want to say. My husband still has his cancer. Okay. We're still in talks with the doctor of what the best treatment would be. And it looks like the doctor prefers surgery, but the treatment is in my husband's hands. He gets to choose whether he has surgery or he has radiation. And there are benefits and risks to each one. I've already told him my opinion, but he keeps talking back and forth and not making a decision. I'm pushing him to make a decision right now because the time has come to do something. It's take that whiz or not in time, and to not have treatment puts him at risk of this turning deadly. So I'm still trying to, it's been on the back burner for a while. Yeah, it has been. So he has to make a decision. He needs to do it soon. So it's stressing me out, and there's times that I've had to just say, taking an hour for myself. I'm going to write or I'm going to do whatever because I'm still working on my book very actively. And I've had to step back. I've told him my opinion, but ultimately it is his decision. Now, where I'm having problems with it again is the people at his new church are stepping in and inserting themselves yet again. So I am going to have to pull his phone from him you know, anytime. Sarah, why did I receive it? I said something about somebody from that city, but the thing is, I actually have 5 or 6 people I know real well that live in that city. I have friends from that city. So for me to use that city's name is not necessarily about that person, which is so silly. So you have Cheshire and Manya hating on Steve, dragging in Becky, dragging in this other person, trying to cheer them on, saying they're going to the TRO trial or whatever. And I'm like, whatever. Oh, why Rabbit received hers? Okay. I received one too this last week. And I'm just like, no, go through the court system here. If you want to shut me up, I'm a legal resident here. Ha ha. Somebody came on and accused me of coming here in an attempt to avoid being sued. Refer to me any way you want. I posted about it, showed the email on my channel on the community page. I'm going to have to take a look at that down the rabbit hole at bedtime because I have kind of stayed out of this. Like I said, I've been working hard on my book. I've been trying to get my husband to make a decision on what he's going to do. And I pointed out to him yesterday that if he did the radiation, it means multiple trips to San Jose. It means multiple nights in a hotel there. It means a lot of different things. Whereas if he has the surgery, it means 3 nights in the hospital there with me passed out on the sofa bed next to him and us just chillaxing for 3 days. Well, they feed us and he relaxes and eats pain pills. And I work on my book. So I've told him he needs to make a decision, and that's one reason why. The other reason, if you have the surgery, they get it all, they take it all, and you're done. Okay. There's no chance of it coming back if they take the organ. If they do the radioactive seeding that they do, the radiation therapy, not only is it multiple trips to San Jose, it can mess with your bladder, it can mess with your colon, it can mess with so many different parts of your body. And if they do the radioactive seeding and they don't get everything, it becomes much harder to treat the cancer at that point. So there you go. That's what we're looking at. But while all this is going on, I have these crazy folks that are trying to drag me into their drama. I have my husband, the great indecider. He doesn't decide anything. He's really kind of flip-floppy about a lot of things. And you still have family there. Oh wow, thank you, Dash. Um, so he's the great flip-flopper on all of that. And side flip-flopper, I have family members and friends that are trying to come here during his surgery. And I'm not sure how I feel about that because I think if they come during the surgery, it might actually make things a little harder on all of us. So I'm going to have some very difficult conversations this week. So we got all this going on. And then we got people that are saying, I'm going to sue you, or you're such an awful person. You love Steve. No, I don't love Steve. I'm friendly with Steve, but I'm not in love with Steve. I'm not attached to him. I don't agree with everything he says or does. I picked on him last week because he used a wrong word. He used a word that had something to do with not math, but some sort of science, which I knew what word he was grappling for, but he used the wrong one. And we all do it. So I just gently chided him for it and picked at him a little bit because it is what it is. Here's the problem with YouTube, and not just YouTube, but social media. I stopped using X mostly. I go in there and pull off Lori Alexander awful things to show other people because I can't hardly believe how awful some of it is. And I talk to the few people that I care to stay in contact with there. But there's so much effery going on that site that is just absolutely, utterly ridiculous. And I just don't have time for any of that right now. None at all. Empathize with that. Well, I'm sick or having a procedure done. Anyone other than my husband stresses me out worse. It's too cloying. Yeah. See, that's where I am with all of this too. And I told the people who want to come, it's probably better if they come after the surgery. Why? Well, after the surgery, he's going to be at his wit's end because he won't be able to get on the pool. He won't be able to get on the elliptical. He won't be able to get on his exercise bike. He won't be doing too much of nothing. And having other people here to distract him might actually be a really good thing. So post surgery, yes. During surgery, maybe. With surgery, will he need radiation? No, no radiation, no chemo. And I told him, I said, to get away with not having radiation or chemo is a huge thing. I've had both. And I've had multiple rounds of chemo because of the mast cell, my mastocytosis. Chemo is a treatment for it. And I try not to get so sick that they give me the chemo because it makes you just sicker. All my toenails pop out. I lose half the hair on my head. I lose every hair on my body. It's no fun. And you feel like crud. You feel like garbage, you know. The only other time I've ever felt as tired as chemo has made me is when I've had my TIA and then later my other stroke. Brain injuries carry that same just horrible gut level of exhaustion and fatigue as chemotherapy. So anybody going through that, I have nothing but empathy for them because they're just trying to survive. So that's why I want him to have the surgery. I want it done with. I want them to go in there, get what they need, go get out. But again, that's on him. And he's a man, so I don't know which one he's going to choose. I hope it's surgery. It would be the easiest and the most effective. But we're talking about a man who is never sick, and he doesn't handle being sick well. So we'll see. My mom just had a few more strokes. I'm worried. I warned the family before holidays, but I'm not real ready. Locked away in a box. Oh my goodness. Here's the thing, I think with me, the strokes happened because UVA set my VPAP machine at too low of a pressure when they retested me right before I moved here. And I told them I thought the pressure was too low. And I kept going back and forth, and I had two strokes in the middle of the night. So that's the only time that I pop a high blood pressure is the middle of the night if the machine is too low. So thank you, YouTube. I saw a video on how to get in the machine and change the setting, and I went back in and I changed it to my previous setting, which I knew was the correct setting. And I'm not having any of the pre-stroke symptoms I was having. So, Dash, it might be worthwhile mentioning to them that they should test your mother for CPAP or a sleep disorder. Well, Dash, it's only because I've used a CPAP machine since 1999. And when I don't use it, I have all kinds of problems. Oh, she lives in high altitude. That's not good. I couldn't handle that. I can't handle high altitudes because of the asthma. I was continually miserably sick the whole time we were in Copeta Delta, which is a relatively high altitude for here. And I was constantly having to use this to check and see what my blood oxygen levels were doing because with asthma, You live and you die by your blood oxygen levels. That tells you a lot about what your asthma is doing. It just does. Like, I'm looking at mine right now, and it's not great. It's not horrible, but it's not great. So when you get older, you really have to watch what your body does and do all that crap. I mean, it's really silly, but it is what it is. So this morning I got up and it looked like Manya had started another thread in the Katie Joy Reddit. Okay. And I was just like, what is this crapola doing here? Here's the thing, Chesh, Manya, if you want to talk crap about Steve, and that's your right, you can talk crap about Steve all day. That's your right. Start your own Reddit. Don't barge into somebody else's Reddit that has nothing to do with your drama and has nothing to do with the person you're talking about. Start your own Reddit and talk your crap there. Oh my word. This has gotten just incredibly, incredibly dumb. And I've seen this in every community I've been a part of, especially survivor communities. It seems to be a thing that they splinter and fracture, and people start saying, well, you cannot possibly be right or be any part of this because you didn't condemn this person or do this or do that. And I'm like, what? Ridiculous. And when people start doing the real life thing, it goes beyond ridiculousness. You're just going, "Oh, why are you doing that? Those people have nothing to do with this." And you're just dragging them into it, making it worse. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I can feel the oxygen levels are definitely tanking. I like breathing, and all the sunshine is calling my name, and so is all my beating supplies. I can't believe another post. Just saw a clip on Renell's of them saying, they don't like us. Yeah, they don't like us. Big deal. That and $5 will buy you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll be back on Tuesday with my regular fundamentalist comments and content.